Yeah, just doing it now.
Yeah, wicked. Cool. Right. Hope everyone is doing good. Obviously, we've got Jack this morning instead of Jake, so you could say we've upgraded Jake for a bigger and better looking version. I don't think anyone will argue with that. Um, but yeah, we're just same coaching call. We are going to go through, I think, some content-based stuff. Obviously, for those of you guys who aren't in the Members Plus group, you might not have come across Jack. But obviously, for those of you guys that are, you'll know Jack already because he's one of the coaches in Members Plus. Um, so yeah, if you have got any questions, Jack is just as qualified as me or Jake to help answer them, or probably more so, to be honest with you. So yeah, so I
Yep.
will get the presentation, get the presentation up and then move some bits around screen wise. There's always technological problems when we do these calls. Yeah, get rid of that for now. Why is it every like internet browser and tab comes up except the one that I actually need? There we go. Cool. Right, I'm gonna share my screen. So can everybody see this? Yeah, everyone can see the presentation.
Yes, mate. It's all good.
Cool, perfect, wicked. Lovely stuff. Right, so how to make content that lands. That lands is just basically it's what a lot of people say. I don't know about you, Jack, but I get it in like the coaching calls a lot. And it'll be people saying that they don't feel like the content's landing at the minute. I think by that what they mean is obviously like getting engagement, getting responses, getting signups and stuff like that. But that's definitely it's not just me. That is definitely a term that comes up pretty common. I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
I think there's an assumption that a content piece that you put out should result in a new client every time.
Yeah.
And there's always this thing where if you're not getting clients suddenly off of one or two posts that you've done, which you think has been really good, that's a bad thing. When it's not, like sometimes the content you do is a library of stuff that people will then go and watch back because of
Yeah.
another piece of a content that lands. So it's just about continuously creating good stuff
Yeah.
over and over
Yeah.
again and not just thinking that one thing always is going to lead to the next client.
Yeah. And I think that's it. I think it's defining what like lands should mean, not necessarily what it does mean, because for some people, lands is, oh, it's got loads of reach. I've got loads of followers off the back of it, which I mean, you're literally what's good about having you here for this one, Jack, is that you're better equipped to talk about this than me and Jake, because you've literally been there with having a ridiculous amount of followers and it doing next to no good for the business. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like honestly, I went for a period. So for anyone who doesn't know, like I went for a period in I think it was 2022 of like some really big account growth, like with followers. Um, I had some reels which were like 100,000, 150,000, and at the time I was like, "This is great. This is amazing." But the downside is I just never actually had anyone actually book any calls off the back of it. So I was doing this really what I thought was good viral content which just didn't lead to really any sales. And like I actually ended up bringing in a ton of followers from the wrong niche. So because it was kind of fun to see the views go up, so I was creating more recipe based reels, more things that were I guess trendy at the time. And yeah, not good at all. Not good for like how my account is now. So unfortunately, it's left me in a position with a boatload of followers and not the greatest engagement. But it means I've now obviously got more leads coming through from posting the right stuff. So yeah, it's finding that balance between like views and actually what someone is actually going to want and connect with.
Yeah, literally that. So, and I think this that I think it's important to say what won't work, and by we mean why what won't work, it's what won't work for getting clients, right? Because that's the ultimate goal. You want people to sign up for coaching. We're not really asked about followers, or anything like that. Yes, obviously there is a time and a place for them, but it's not the be all and end all. So what won't work, as Jack's just said, is just focusing on doing trending videos, recipe videos, dancing and pointing in videos, copying other coaches, and just literally in some cases literally copy and pasting their captions and everything and posting it yourself, or just throwing stuff together last minute. Like that's the kind of stuff that it might get you a few views, it might get you a couple of comments, it might get you a couple of shares, but ultimately it's not selling who you are as a coach. It's not putting across why you're a good fit for that person. It's not building that no like and trust that we talk about. And look, we're coming from a point of view, it's like neither of us are fucking masters at content. We've all done stuff like this, right? We've all done the trending videos. the recipe video. I don't, in fact, I reckon that's the one thing I've never done because I just can't be asked to make a recipe video. But everything else, everything else we've all done it, especially throwing stuff together last minute. Is there anything else in there do you reckon it's missing?
I don't think so. I think like this is the common things that a lot of people will try because it looks like it works when reality it just doesn't work, especially the copy and other coaches
Yeah,
because it just might not suit you. Like I think we've all probably seen someone do a viral video and think, oh, I should probably do the same or the same thing. And we
yeah,
try it or try another variation of it and it just doesn't go down well because for them it works for their humor, it works for the way they
yeah.
talk about, whereas for us it's not right. So you have to find your own way of like kind of connecting with your content and the viewers who are watching it.
Yeah, it's literally that. Like when we're saying copying other coaches, we don't mean if you see a coach post about, if I did a post this morning about creatine, that's not saying, right, well, you can't post about
Yeah.
creatine then this week copying. You fucking can, and you probably should be talking about it at some point, right? But it's just saying, do not just take the message, the value from that video and literally record your own version of that. Like take them, take the topic and then put your own spin on it. Like put it in your voice, your personality, your words, get across your own message within that topic. That a lot, and it's clear as day, like when stuff has been copied, because we can see it straight away. We've had it quite a few times where we literally we see something come up and we're like, I'm pretty sure I wrote that about 2 days ago. And it's one of those, like it's not from a point of view as it's never going to affect our business, right? It's no one's ever going to see, a follower of Jack's, for example. If someone copied Jack's content and literally posted it word for word, no one's going to see that and be like, oh, well, I was going to reach out with Jack, but I've just seen this and now I'm going to engage with this coach. Like, it's not going to happen. So we're not saying this from the point of view of like, don't copy us or anything like that. Or, if someone copies you, don't freak out being like, fucking hell, they've copied me. Someone's going to go for them instead of me. They're not. Like, that's not how it should be because they'll hopefully by that point, they'll have followed you long enough to know you, like you, and trust you. It's just that actually it's for that other coach, it's doing them no good because you're only ever going to be a watered down version of the person that you've copied. So you're fighting a losing battle from the start.
Yeah.
So what will work? Do you want to go for these, Jack?
Yeah, sure. So obviously knowing your niche, like that's the big thing of actually kind of knowing who it is that you're trying to speak to, who it is that you're actually trying to engage with. And you've all, I think, probably got enough videos in the member site to really dial down on that. I think we should all probably be revisiting that time and time again, probably like every 3 months, looking back at your niche documents and thinking, um, is this right? Has things changed a little bit? Has like my lifestyle changed? Has my kind of ideologies on things changed? Because I know me for myself, like kind of my in my personality over the last 7 years has changed drastically. I've been the bodybuilder who would talk about like kind of bloody movement angles and RDLs and like deadlift PBs and posting that. I've been the guy that just wanted to get in shape for holiday, and now I'm like the guy who just wants to actually really help other dads get in shape, other sort of busy guys in their life get in shape, and my content directly has changed with that. So I think you just have to like really revisit your niche and personality over and over again, as I think you just evolve a little bit. Because I think that's one of the big things that I found is for me, the biggest success is actually just realizing that I become the person that I'm trying to like talk to in my content. And that reflects in all of the things that you then post about. Um, Obviously blocking out other coaches, I think that's a big thing. So that kind of reflects back to like the copy and other coaches. So you see someone do something that works really well and you think, should I be doing that? Sometimes it is actually better to just not have as many coaches that you follow within your audience. So you can actually have a think about ideas that maybe might be relevant to the people you want to talk to, or even actually just following other creators rather than coaches. Because I think sometimes other creators do give you a bit more bandwidth on actually things that are working well outside of the fitness niche, and then how you can actually then emulate that in your own content. I don't know if you know any guys, Jake, that sort of other creators outside of it. I know we probably posted them a few times in the Members Plus group, but there's some other people that do some really good content, which actually in the fitness side probably would work well, but it just doesn't
Yeah.
really get seen because
Yeah, there was. I mean, I think as an example, most people know there was a comedian called Finn Taylor who I don't watch much of his stuff, but he did for a while. Like he did those I think he was the first one to do like the mock Stephen Bartlett interviews
yeah.
where he pretend he was in it, and obviously Dan and Mike did their own versions. So it's stuff like that. You see stuff like that, and you're like, you could make that work. You could take a podcast clip from someone like fucking V Shred talking about shit, and you could put yourself into that conversation. Like those are the kind of original ideas where I'm like saying that out loud. I'm like, I've not seen anyone do that yet. I'm sure there
Yeah.
is someone doing it, but I've not seen it. So it's just little things like that.
Yeah, and I guess that then comes on to actually being original. So like kind of you become that original creator of those pieces of content because it is outside of the box and you've thought about it before going to then create it, and the ideas are like always swimming in your head before you actually get into the creation process of it. And again, yep, speaking in your own voice is another thing that's really going to work. Like if you constantly chop and change between your thought processes in your stories and your content, one week you're talking about losing your first 5 to 10 kilos, and then the next week you're talking about being absolutely jacked and shredded and how you need to be full on 100% all the time, you will get lost, I think, in your audience. So you have to be so consistent with the things that you consistently speak about over time.
Mm.
Someone who does this really, really well, and you guys might follow him, is Jeff Foden. He is
Yeah.
always stuck with his like kind of his voice, and every post is always about that, and you'll see that within his content. He never really flip-flops between differences between the two, and I think sometimes you just sort of need to make sure that your actual message is consistent on everything you do day to day, like all the time, because people will then relate to that a lot more rather than one week it being different to another. And then obviously client questions. So your check-ins are perfect for this. So anytime someone's struggling with something, anytime someone sort of said something that could be like kind of produced as a piece of content is like gold, absolute gold all the time. Because if they're thinking it, potential clients probably are thinking it too.
Yeah, that's something I'll always do. Like if I'm struggling for content ideas, or if I'm sat with like a blank screen and I need a bit of inspiration, I'll just go back through my WhatsApps for the week and I'll just double check conversations or check-ins to be like, right, is there anything that I got asked that I've missed that I've forgotten? That'd be a good niche related question, usually quite helpful. So, how we get content ideas. This is just like a quick one, and you've already mentioned a few of these as well, which is literally just first off, first and foremost is the niche document. This is literally why you hear Dan and Mike harp on about it, and why when we do Members Plus, it's the very first thing we get people to spend some time getting good at, because it's what should inform all of your content. It's what should give you an idea of who it is that you're actually talking to, and then the way I tell people to use the niche document, I'm sure you'll be the same, Jack, but correct me if you're not, is I'll literally say if you're struggling for ideas, like go through your niche document and just pick one topic, pick one scenario, one example, and bulk it out. Like you could do that in a rant form. You could actually picture like, okay, I know my clients struggle with the busy days at work, they're eating on the go. Go out and fucking film a day on the go, like picking stuff up, eating on the go. I mean, you've done loads of videos like that, haven't you, where you've literally just like eaten on the go and tracked it as you go. I think you've had days where you've had your son
Yeah,
teaches
yeah. Like on
stuff like that.
one, it literally come from a client frustration. I was just pissed off that they just couldn't like plan their day out. So I'd literally just gave Hugo loads of options for food,
Yeah,
for me for the day, and then I just went to the shops and bought it each time to prove that
yeah,
you could have a protein and calorie goal. And
yeah,
like you then sort of look at it and think, okay, how is that then niche specific? So I'm using Hugo in it. Obviously, if you don't have a son, it might be a bit difficult, but he is like kind of, it shows that I'm a parent. I'm showing that I kind of face the same situations that they do, not really knowing how to track in their food, and actually how easily it can be done within something that is a fun piece of content, like a full day of eating. So you turn in a full day of eating, which is typically a very kind of easy, boring kind of thing that you probably see consistently over and over, into something that is actually a little bit more engaging and a bit fun. So people can kind of see the personality side.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Literally, like it just makes it more original. It's gonna make you stand out. So you want to be able to go through that niche document and just pick a topic or 2 to 3 points that you could weave into a piece of content and sort of bulk that content or copy out with. And then, like we said, questions from clients, questions on DM in DMs on Instagram, the explore page, other creators that aren't in fitness, and then just general observations you might see in the industry, what's going on at the minute. In observations, just what's going on in the world at the minute. And then don't be afraid to remake old videos. Don't even be afraid if it's good to just repost an old video. If it's like a video from 6 months ago and you still stand by it and it's a good quality, fucking repost it. There's gonna be so many people that didn't see it the first time around.
Yeah.
Um,
You
but
could
if you get
repost it, change the caption, and then change probably the cover photo, and then like it would probably do just as well as the first time it did it.
Yeah, literally that. Like, if you've got those sort of things nailed down, if you're going through those things every single week, there is no reason why you shouldn't be sat there with like an abundance of ideas of, okay, I'm going to make some content about this week. And like Dan and Mike have said before, and I think I'll go into it a little bit, like you only need 4 or 5 ideas, 4 or 5 topics to talk about in the week that you can then make videos, carousels, picture posts from, write emails about. You could do a podcast on, like you could do a YouTube vlog about it, covering a few of them. Like there's so many ways that you could repurpose the same content. And I think that's the easiest way to be consistent with your content is get good at repurposing the same topics and talking about it in a slightly different way. You don't have to have a different topic every single video or every single piece of content. Sorry. Um, yeah, literally that, Harry. So you did that this week. A lot of engagement and a call booked off the back of it, mate. Wicked. Fucking well done. Um, and Ben, you feel like you're talking about the same stuff all the time. Yeah, literally that. You will be talking about the same stuff over and over. That is all it is. Like, especially if a lot of your stuff is, yeah, especially about if a lot of your stuff is generally fat loss, there's only so much you can talk about, isn't there? Like, you're gonna be talking about the exact same shit all the time. You're just talking about it in a different way.
Yeah. Honestly, I get so bored of content, but it's the same thing. Like
Yeah.
you have to repurpose it in a different way. That excites you because then that actually then comes across as exciting too. So if you're like kind of bored of talking about the same stuff, I think sometimes you just have to think, okay, how can I do this differently? That is going to show it in a way where I'm actually excited to make it. So like Jake said, a carousel talking head video, like other different variations of podcast and email. And I think the more you do that, the easier you get like kind of creating things consistently.
Yeah.
But yeah, me and Jake probably exactly the same as you guys. We're never like buzzing to create pieces of
No.
content. It's part of our job. Like it's part of it, and you have to do it, and you have to do it in a way that is then gonna be entertaining to a degree, and that involves a little bit of thought process going into it, and you'll do well from it.
Yeah, literally that. And I think one of the easiest ways you can kind of spin them is like if you do a talking head on a particular topic, well, when you revisit that topic next time, you could literally say, right, well, last time I talked about it, how about this time I show it? So if you're talking in one video about like, you need to be disciplined or whatever, talking about motivation or discipline, why don't you actually show that? Show the day to day of I got up at 5 a.m., I went out and did some steps. And obviously you can make it entertaining as you go, but then that way you're not just sat telling someone about it, you're actually showing someone what that would look like on a day-to-day basis. It's the same fucking message. It could literally be the exact same script, but
Yeah,
you've got that B-roll of actually showing you out there doing it.
yeah.
Um, so this is how I personally create content. I'm sure yours will be relatively similar, Jack, but it might be, slightly different and let us know what it is afterwards. But I literally just have like an active notes page or I have like a Word document on Drive where I'll just keep making notes all week. If anything pops into my head, I'll just quickly put it into that notes app or I'll message it to myself so I don't forget. The amount of times I have an idea when I'm like walking the dog and I'll be like, right, when I get home, I'll make a note of that. I'll put it in. And by the time I've got home, it's just gone. Like I can't remember it. So I will just message it to myself every single time. Um, and I think the most important days is just have set days for filming. So for me, the only full day I get to actually sit down and film, which is today after this call, is every other Thursday. So I literally get one day every 2 weeks where I can sit down and actually just do a whole day of writing scripts, filming content, and making it. Um, so I've got to be organized. Like you've got to know when you're going to be planning that content and try and batch record a lot of it so that you're not just chasing your tail, trying to sit down, right. I've got to do a post for tonight. I need to sit down. I need to get the camera out, film it, edit it, and then post it a couple of hours later. So for me, I'll sit down on a Wednesday once all my check-ins are done Wednesday evening, and I'll choose 5 to 10 ideas that I've had on my notes page, and I'll start to bulk them out into scripts and know what I'm talking about. And then the next day on the Thursday is then when I actually then sit down and film it, get my camera out, get my lighting set up, and film those scripts and those videos. But yeah, anything to add there, Jack? Any different way you go about doing things?
Literally the exact same. So notes on my phone, when I've kind of got an idea and it's come into my head, and I'll just leave it ticked or unticked if I've done it. And then when I'm actually coming to create my content, which will typically be towards the back end of the week, I'll then write the scripts for it. So I'm not just going in, pointing film and going for it. It's a script with actually, okay, what hook's going to work well here? What next line am I going to do? And where am I then going to do that in a different place? Or if it's just a talking head video, like obviously what kind of B-roll to maybe use in the back of it. And yeah, then really just kind of then film it. I used to like kind of edit it myself on CapCut, but now we use like an editor, so I just send it off. But there's still the filming process which it has to go through,
Yeah.
which is the hard part. The hard part is actually setting it all up to make it actually look good and everything else like that. So I think try not to get too like kind of confused around the whole editing side needing to be perfect. If you look at maybe some other top content creators, they literally just use captions and good cuts into different scenes. They're not
Yeah.
using much fancy stuff. So I think that can sometimes be the downside is so many people get really like their kind of feelings like they need to be doing something which is always high production, high level. That comes with
Yeah.
time. Like that comes with time. So just getting something out there which is got some captions on usually is good enough if then the filming process has been kind of thought out.
Yeah, 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 literally that. And I think like just you mentioned about there like writing a good hook and then knowing like where you're gonna go into next, what that scene's gonna be, how it's gonna look. I think especially when you're new to content, you need to have that 100% mapped out. And that's not to say you might change it as you're going along filming and have a different idea, but I would always have at least 2 or 3 different hooks for the start of a video so that you've got options then if you do come to edit it yourself for whichever one lands better. Ben, in terms of your question, do you struggle with memory and storage on the phone with all the B-roll stuff? Yeah, all the fucking time. It's bane of my life. Um, but literally that, just get extra iCloud storage and delete them on CapCut once you've made them. I have as well for like my extra B-roll, I literally just bought like an external hard drive. So I'll just put all my B-roll backed up onto this hard drive. And if I ever need it, I just plug it in, pull it from that back onto my laptop, use it for editing. But yeah, I think extra storage as well on like Google Drive. I think you can get up to 100 gigs for I think it's about £1.50 a month or something like that. Something to note. So yeah, just pay for extra storage and it should be fine. But it can be a ball ache on the phone. So yeah, and then just a little bit more on that in terms of once you've made those pieces of content, like we said, you can then expand them out. So don't just be like, right, I've just done a video about, how I lost 5 kilos in 6 weeks last time I dieted. Then why not turn that into an email? Why not turn that into a carousel? Why not turn that into a picture post and actually show you being in shape and all these kind of things? Like you can easily make 3 to 4 pieces of content per topic. You just put in a slightly different spin on them each time and a different way of talking about it. But you do that and you've literally got 30, 40 pieces of content very easily every couple of weeks if you need it. So it's just one of those. It's just don't just make one piece of content. I think the point is, and just be like, right, that's that done. On to the next one. Just be like, right, how can I actually change this? How can I do this? And that's what I'll do. Like, so today when I'm sitting down and I'm going through my scripts, if there's any other content I want to make, I'll be like, right, what emails have I done this week? Is there anything from my emails I can pull out and turn into a post? What messages have I had? You're always looking at ways to just repurpose the same content. But yeah, so this is the general checklist that I've got from start to finish. Again, if there's anything in there that you reckon needs adding, just shout up, Jack. But generating ideas, have a set day for writing your scripts and filming it all. Script out the ideas, knowing exactly what you're going to say, where you're going to film, the B-roll that you're going to use. Obviously, the better you get, the less scripted you might be able to be. But certainly to begin with, I would be as scripted as you can. Have 2 to 3 hooks per video and film all of them, and then you can choose which one you want in the edit. Know how to set up your lighting and your camera for wherever you're filming. Obviously, film it, edit it, and then make sure this is the big gripe for me because this is where a lot of people fall down. You've actually got a decent cover for your video so that when someone comes to your page, they can actually A, see the video, but B, know what the video is about and give them a reason to click on it. The amount of videos that you see posted without covers and it's just like a blank picture of someone's face, and it's like, well, there's literally no reason for someone to click on that. They're not going to invest the time to click on the video to see what it's about, to then think, is this worth my time? Is it applicable to me? Not going to do it. Like they're just going to scroll on without ever looking at it. So your reels, your covers need to be there to hook people in. And then obviously you can convert the script that you use for that video into copy for other things, carousels, emails, that kind of stuff. Anything else on there, Jack, you reckon?
I think the only thing I would probably add, like, is if you're someone that really, really struggles with this, so like it's obviously like doing this is great, so the script, everything else like that. But if you really struggle with then actually getting the point across, you could look at like kind of some form of like teleprompter if you really, really want to. So there is like kind of some technology you can get where you could just like if you have iPads or if you have like say a laptop, which you could then actually have the words come up on the screen as you film the video if you really, really get stuck. And this is one of the things that actually I only really learned recently, and I think you just forget because you forget that people use them. So you look at James Smith's talking head videos, and I've always thought, how does he do that so well? How does he make videos that he just can talk and it be so good? It's all teleprompted. You watch this, like it was one of the things that he said in one of his courses is like a lot of his videos where it's talking head he uses a teleprompter for. He writes out what he's going to say, and I think when you write out what you're going to say and then say it, you can then change it around to then actually, does that work? Is that actually
Yeah.
going to flow well? Does that next line work well? And yeah, that's something you could use if you've got like an iPad or something like that. And I think there's apps and stuff for it as well to use too. I've not got one because I'm okay with like having just bullet points and doing it that way. But if you really, really, really struggle, that might be something to look at.
Yeah, yeah, I'm the same. I haven't used one, but it definitely would be useful. I quite like, for me, I like the bullet points because I find that I'll say it slightly differently each time I say it, and then you've got a few options. But if you're not confident doing that, then the teleprompter is definitely the better route to go down to begin with. So what your content should do, like we've said at the start, the purpose of your content should be to get clients and not to grow a following. And funnily enough, James Smith has just done a podcast on this. I don't listen to a lot of what he does nowadays, to be honest with you, especially since he's gone down the sort of business route. Um, Not knocking him or anything, but I just don't really have much of an interest. But I did listen to the podcast he did the other day on, I think it's the March on one. And it was more for just the fact that he was saying, and it was just basically backing up everything Dan and Mike have always said is that having been in that game now where he's got like over 1 million followers, hasn't he? I think he's had over 1 million for a while. He can't, he's like, it's pointless. Like there's everybody's out there playing the Instagram game, trying to get followers, trying to get the views up, and it doesn't convert to actual income and clients. Like he would, and I think he literally said in podcast, he would rather have 10,000 engaged followers that he knows he can convert to clients and actually have a business from than 1 million followers where he's just playing the Instagram game for reels and views and it's not converting it the way you would want it. And 10,000 is much more manageable. It's much less work as well. And it's just a big stress relief. So I thought it was worth just pointing that out. Like someone who's been at the top of that and someone that everybody knows literally is like, yeah, it's not what you think it is. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's not the celebrations that you want for having so many followers. It actually doesn't convert to a successful business. It's
Yeah.
better to have a small following that are engaged and know who you are and are ready to buy from you than having a shit ton of followers.
Yeah, I mean, like we always see those quotes, and I think it's easy to look at someone like James Smith with 1 million to say that. Um, like obviously I've been through that to a degree as well, not anywhere near 1 million, but like I was once at my account at like 110,000, and then I've dropped like over 15,000 since I've lost followers. But in terms of like the business from 2022 to 2024 now, night and day difference in terms of the amount of leads we get because we don't focus on the views anymore. We don't focus on all of the things that in the past I thought was like the best thing, but
Mm.
in actual fact, it just leaves you kind of with a massive amount of followers that probably will never ever buy from you anyway. So it's tough because we see these people with views and loads of followers, and we think that is the cherry on top, but it's just not the reality of it.
Yeah, yeah, literally. And I think that's why having you on for this one's better than anything because you've literally been there. You can literally say from first-hand experience, it's not what you think it is. And just to like reiterate the point, like I know me and Jake have said this before, we have fuck all in the way of followers. Like I've got 2,500, he's got 2,800. He probably paid for those extra 300 followers, to be honest with you, but there you go. And which between us, we're having 20 to 30 conversations a day in messages with people on average. So obviously, sometimes more, sometimes less. We have average client retention of about 10 to 12 months plus. Generally, if someone stays with us for less than 10 months, it's unusual. And between us, we've got 170 plus clients that we're currently working with right now across one-to-one check-ins, members plus, blitz, everything like that. And that's off of a combined following of what just over 5K, which is nothing, like literally nothing. Yet we're still managing to build what I would consider a relatively successful business off the back of it. Um, and I could have quite easily, I would imagine as well, mate. I know obviously your numbers are massively inflated because of the spike you used to have, but you'd say the same thing. Like the engagement is more important than anything else.
Yeah, I would say my engagement is probably fairly similar to you guys in terms of story views and
Yeah.
accounts reach over like the last 30 days. It's really not far off of like what your account reach is. And that's you at 2,500 and that's me at 96 or something. So like it's just sometimes that number at the top just it means fuck all.
Yeah. It really, and I have this sometimes on calls, like not necessarily on calls, but certainly conversations. Like sometimes coaches will say, "Oh, I'm just really fed up with my content because my followers not growing and I've not got the numbers I want." And I look and they're on like 7,000 followers, and I'm like, "Well, you've got over double the amount of I've got." So it's not the followers that's the problem, is it? It's the reason that it's because they're not engaging with what you're putting out for whatever reason, and that comes down to the content and your stories and stuff like that. So it's just it's focusing on the wrong thing. It really, really is focusing on the wrong thing. Obviously, you need followers. Obviously, if you have like 200 followers, then yeah, you need more followers. And there's certainly stages, and you're really good with this. I know, Jack, with helping the Members Plus guys like go through phases of growth with their followers and like doing content to get more eyes on the page that's going to be people that are better suited to sign up. But it's not the be all and end all. It's not the only thing you need to focus on.
Yeah, for sure. It's like it's I think when you have like a good level, it's then focusing on that good level before you then try and go through phases of like actively then trying to grow the following.
Yeah.
And it's the thing, we should always be trying to do that to an extent, like, and that's when you would use those kind of videos that probably will get more followers in. But then the large amount of your content should come through that content, which isn't actually always about a new follower or everything else like that.
Yeah.
It's tough when you're seeing those views go as up to not consistently always create more of that. Because I think
Yeah.
I got into that trap where it must have been like a 3 or 4 month period back when I sort of was growing. Like I would just do those stories that, sorry, those kind of reels, which worked really well. I forgot about posting client transformations. I just literally,
Yeah.
I was just like, there was this period where I just wasn't talking about clients because I was just obsessed about the next recipe video or the next video which was gonna bang on social media, and then yeah, it just leaves you in this kind of loop of wanting more.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally, like I say, you get stuck in it. So you want to go through this one, dude?
Yeah, sure. So, like again, you shouldn't really be making content just for followers and engagement, like I've kind of talked about, because in my personal opinion and my experience before, it doesn't translate to any clients. Or if it does, it's the ones that reach out probably for the wrong thing. So one of the things I noticed when I was doing a lot of stuff just for engagement, I was getting on calls, but the calls were just not people who were aligned with my values. So it was people that probably the wrong age. They were probably in the wrong jobs. They were probably thinking something was going to be cheaper. And that then related in not actually then making any sales from the clients that we were actually getting on calls with. So I think you're probably sick of hearing this, but it is the know, like, and trust. That really is what it should be. Like people who are booking calls with you they should know about you. They should know all the things that you do, to an extent. Obviously, they're not going to be sitting there watching you in your window. They should like you as well, like as a person, and agree with the things that you talk about. Maybe the things you show in your stories, they should actually have an interest in as well. The things you post about, they should agree with, and obviously, ultimately, trust. And trust is going to come from those client testimonials, those results that you get, consistently showing them, showing the bad parts of a client journey versus the good parts as well. Like that's where you're going to really build like the know, like, and trust. And I think that's something that you do get better at over time. It's not something you're going to be able to just go straight into. I think it comes with coaching experience and everything else like that. But that's really what the content you should be building should be focused on. Okay. Um, Putting across your own journey, your opinions, how you work, what you should stand for, behind the scenes, client results. Like obviously myself, Jake and Jake, like we can only use our experience in this, but if you look at our stories across the week, we're always showing the check-ins and what we're doing. So we're ticking off kind of that behind the scenes of the coaching. We might even bring the sheets up and scroll through like kind of someone's weigh-ins over a 6 month period and how they looked at the start and how they look now. So again, behind the scenes, we're putting up stories of people's WhatsApp messages that they've sent, so the client results and the feedback that they've given us. We're talking about our own journey, so we're maybe in little bits of our day talking about kind of what we're doing in regards to, I know Jake's obviously in like gaining phase, like I've just come out of like a photo shoot, and if you go and watch all of my content from this year, a lot of it was based around that and a big transformation, because that was one of the things I really wanted to talk about and a journey that I was on. So like all of those things, they build to this kind of like
Mm.
know, like, and trust, where someone's going to be like, okay, that's the guy for me. I align with everything he's saying. I like the stuff he shows. I like the results he gets. When you get on a call with someone, that's probably 90% that they're going to sign up and know that they actually want to do it with you.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And I think as well, like, I think it can get overcomplicated in the search of like followers and stuff, because I think as an extreme example, if you had two coaches next to each other, right? If you were looking for a coach and you wanted to build your physique, and you had one coach that had done 50 posts and they were all just like training tips, educational tidbits, how to get your steps in, a few recipe videos in there, all that kind of stuff. Or you had another coach that had literally just put 50 transformations on there. Or let's even say 25 transformations and 25 posts of whether it's his own check-in, his own training, his own physique development. Which one are you instantly going to be more attracted to? It's going to be the one that's done more transformation. Like straight away, your eye's going to go to, right, this guy knows what he's doing, over the person that's doing all the reels and the video. And I'm not saying like there's no place for reels, there obviously is. But when you put it as an extreme example of which one's going to convert more clients, if you put yourself in that position, I know for myself, it might just be me, but I put myself in that position and I'm like, I'm going to focus on the guy that's got the transformations and that's actually walking the walk and I can see his own progression, over the guy that, as good as they might be, is doing all the reels with educational tips and things like that. I mean, am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong in saying that, but would you do the same?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like every time I've ever bought something from someone online, let's just say even mentoring from Mike, I wasn't looking at all of the viral things he'd done. Like I like his humor, so I trust him. So I trust his things that he's talked about. But the thing that brought me into him was the results he was getting and actually him being down to earth, all of those things. So, and it's the same when people are then joining you for coaching. Like they look at all of those things and they might spend some time on your page looking at older posts or looking at kind of the things you say and then take the leap to then reach out or book a call, whatever it is.
Yeah, 100%. So, so what content should you make? What you should be focusing on doing? And this is more just towards the real side of things. Obviously, alongside this, you'd have before and afters, client results. You'd have your own progress updates, maybe some training videos, things like that, just like general life content. But purely from reels, like just as an example, day in the lives, train with me, day of eating. You could even, for a lot of you guys, you should be doing, you definitely, if it's your demographic, should be doing like, I went carnivore for a day, I went vegan for a day. This is how it looked to go, fast for a day, all those kind of things. You're basically putting yourself in the shoes of your demographic, trying out these diets and giving your not facts on it, just giving your opinions on it. Like me and Jake did a YouTube vlog, which I've not edited yet. It's been for about fucking 7 weeks since we filmed it now. But having a baby got anyway. But we just did a full day of carnivore and we filmed the whole thing and I'll put it out soon. And it's literally that there's no science there. None of us are neither of us talk about like the science behind carnivore. Well, Jay did, but I edited it out because it was boring. But we literally just gave our opinions on it of just like, this is shit, this is boring. And that's all you need to do. But it's doing content like that, how you grow in X muscle group, how you lost X amount of weight and what you did to make that happen. Your rants, your reactions to other people's contents, to principles and things like that. And then some educational things like, I'm not saying never do an educational video in your life. Like I did one this morning on creatine, which was a bit more boring and educational than my content generally is. There's a place for those every now and again, but they're just not the kind of content you want to be putting out all the time. And then obviously like video format, you can easily do client feedback. That's a very easy one to be getting from clients, social proof and sharing that as often as you can. Um, and I put all of it at the bottom because I know for a fact that we'll get questions saying, well, which one should I focus on first? Doesn't fucking matter. Just do all of it and just pick one, do it, and go on to the next one. There's not one that's better than the other, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I think the only thing I would add to this is when you're doing like the day in the life, the day of eatings, the train with me. I think a lot of people can get wrapped up in like filming their day in the life and literally just doing a voiceover of what they filmed. So
Yeah.
like they'll do a voiceover of I got up and I had a black coffee. I went to the gym and I did push. I did bench press times 5 times 8. I did this and then I went home and I had 500 grams of Greek yogurt. Like that's a really boring day in the life or a full day of eating. You want to create obviously that you can get those clips, but when you do like a day in the life or your day of eating, you want to almost like then kind of make it somewhat niche specific.
Yeah.
So like for example, it could be in the background is on the film, you've got the video of the coffee being made, or you kind of making up your pre-workout shake. And the voiceover could be, here's an example of a day in life. So I'll use my one. So here's an example of a day in life of someone with 2 kids who's trying to prevent the dad bod. First thing I do, I drop off you, go to nursery, and I go and get a quick workout in for 45 minutes. Because I don't have as much time that I used to, being a dad now, one of the big things is that I try and superset my workouts to do this, this, and this. So I'm explaining why I'm doing certain things. So then the people who are watching it, who are in the same position, can be like, oh, I should probably be doing that. Or like when I get home and I'll say, I typically fast because I want to save my meal for the end of the day when I have that with my family. And again, it again becomes that niche specific thing. Like people who typically do work with me, they need more calories in the evening. So then by saving it, they obviously have enough there. So you want to just make sure that your day in the lives again are probably scripted as well. So film planning what you're going to film, planning what you're going to then talk about, so it then has that relevance to the people that you work with too. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it could just get lost in another day in the life, which has no value or meaning behind it.
I think that's it. Like a lot of people, and we're the same, they'll say, yeah, but my day in the life's boring. And it's like, well, yeah, it's everyone's day in the life's boring, like, because it's your life, but you have to find a way of making it interesting. So, like, you want to use that day in the life, like Jack was saying, to paint the picture of the message that you're trying to give. So, if it was niche specific for me, I might say, this is how I'm trying to grow my delts without wearing pajamas to the gym, watching YouTube of bodybuilders for half an hour before I go and creaming myself over a new pre-workout blend before I get there. And then I would use my day in the life of, well, I get up at this time, and you use it to sell the story, but you put in that message in first, and that is the message that drives the whole video. It's niche specific. That's quite a good idea, actually. I might make a note of that. I'll have to message it to myself before the end of the call. Eric, how many story views do we guys get on average? I can tell you that I get on average between 300 to 500, and that's for the first few stories of the day, and that'll trickle off towards the back end of the day down to like 150 to 200. Generally, not much more than that. I mean, obviously, it matters how many views you get, but it's not the thing that I really spend that much time fixating on, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I think you could definitely fixate on this a lot, thinking that you need to do all the most important viral things to get your views up. We all know if we start the day with a poll, it's going to get a lot of views, but is that actually going to lead to a client coming on board? So it's finding that balance of like how much you do in terms of like needing views if you need it, if you're going to then do like maybe a poll for coaching. So like if I was to ever do like a call to action for coaching, I'm probably not going to do a load of videos and then do the poll for the call to action to coaching. I'm probably going to start with maybe something that's actually going to get a lot of views. It might be, I don't know, fucking Monster Energy can or something. I know I'll then say that white Monster Energy is rubbish because it is. It's terrible. And then I'll talk about the one that I enjoy. It will get lots of comments and that will bump it up. And then later on in the day, my planned see call to action will probably have a bit more views. And I'm probably similar to Jake. Like on my days that aren't as good, I probably get around about 400 to 500. And on my days that are better, I'll sometimes get up to about 1,000. So the views obviously they do differ quite a lot, but typically they're probably on average about 500. So not anything amazing for someone who's got 96,000 followers.
Yeah, so it's just that. There's obviously things you can do to try and improve it, like Jack said, and like don't try not to like share things to your stories from other people or share your own posts to your stories. Try to delete everything on first thing in the morning from the day before to give it a little bit of a bump, and that's about it, really, dude. And just like you said, plan out, like Jack said, if you're gonna do a call to action for coaching, don't do it 10 stories in. Like, make sure you're doing it towards the start. In terms of am I getting those 20 conversations out of that? Well, yeah, pretty much 20. It's anywhere 20, 30 sort of ish average. Maybe 15 of those will come from people responding to my stories, engaging with stuff that I'm putting on. The rest will come from me actively going out and just talking to people, responding to their stories, commenting on their posts, those kind of things. Like it's literally like it's not all just people coming to me. You have to actively go out sometimes. Well, most of the time you should be doing it and speak to people. And that's not me speaking to people being like, sometimes it's funny enough. I had a client yesterday send me screenshots of another coach that keeps messaging her every couple of months, being like, "Hey, hon, trying to check in. How's your training going?" And it's like they don't know each other. So it's like the most transparent thing in the world. You're just trying to get her as a client. That's pointless. That's a waste of time because all that's done is alienate that person from ever signing up with her. Should she ever stop coaching with me? But just being a genuine human and like if you see something on someone's stories you have a genuine opinion on or reaction to, just speak to them like you would if you saw them in the street and they mentioned, "Oh, I've just done this." Just give them a response that you would if you were in the street with them. So it's just that, mate. It's just a combination of that, really.
Yeah.
Am I following who follows you? Not always. Sometimes if I think they fit my demographic, I will do. But not always, mate. I'll always message someone that follows me. So I'll literally drop a message and say thanks for the follow. Hope you're good, appreciate it. But I won't follow every single person back that follows me. So, and a lot of the time it's going to be the same people that you're speaking to, Eric, because that's what builds a relationship with someone. You're not just trying to speak to a new person every single day. Oh, you want to be speaking to as many new people as you can, but if you were only ever speaking to new people every single day, you're never really building a relationship with someone. You're never building that know, like, and trust. You're going to be speaking to a good chunk of the same people every single day. And we've spoken about this before. Like, even if you think that that person might never be a client, they might currently have a coach. As long as you're not trying to poach them, there's nothing wrong with just having a conversation, right? But they might have a coach, they might just not be your demographic. There's still nothing wrong with having those conversations because I've had it before where there's someone I've spoken to on stories now, never met the person, never met him in my life, don't know what he looks like, but he responds to every single thing I put on. And I must have spoken to him every day now for like 2 or 3 years. He's actually referred me on a couple of good clients, even though he's never going to be a client just for the type of person he is and whatnot. He's not that interested in fitness. He's referred me a couple of his mates on who have ended up being good clients. So you just never know. There's no harm in having conversations with people.
Yeah, for sure. And even just like when someone follows you, like just that genuine message, like saying thanks for the follow. And if they fit the sort of demographic that you work with, or if just someone's that interesting, just give them a follow back. That's never a bad thing, I don't think, because then if they post stuff, you can obviously see what they post, and then you can
Yeah.
comment on their stories. It might not lead to anything. The amount of times I've sent someone a new follower message and I've just been ghosted, it's fine. Like it doesn't matter
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
in like if they ghost you, cool. They might not. They might actually like your comment, or they might actually say, "I really like your stuff." Or in other cases, they might actually then end up booking a call with you or talking about coaching. So yeah, don't be afraid to just be very social with someone.
Yeah, literally that. So try every content style once and then see what clicks for you, your personality, and sort of the engagement you get back from your actual demographics. Not engagement from every single person on Instagram, but the people that actually fit your demographic. Do they like this style of content and do you enjoy making it? If it's a yes, that's probably the style of content you want to keep trying to make. And just as a side note, because we always get this result-based posts are like before and afters, they're never going to get good engagement. They're never going to get comments. They're never really going to get many likes or anything like that. Doesn't mean you don't post them. Like the people that come into you for coaching will do it off the back of having seen you post consistent results over and over and over and over again, even if they don't engage with them. They're not the kind of posts that get that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think
Um,
results-based posts as well, like can be very mixed up to make them a bit more engaging too. So like if you've worked with someone over 6 months and you've got the before and after of month one and month six, show the month two, month three, month four, month five, show the weigh-ins that they were on, show the
yeah,
calories they were on. Because that shows the journey as well. And like I've always found that those posts will do way better than just any standard before and after. You could use the green screen feature on Instagram and talk through a client's journey again, through turn it into instead of a before and after, it's a reel talking about their journey. And then as you're talking about it, maybe you pull up your check-in sheets, maybe you pull up your nutrition sheets, show the insides of the coaching, actually what you're doing with people. Because I just think that gives someone who is like really curious so much more of an insight than a before and after will do. And this isn't to say don't post a before and after, like still do them, but like you can go so much deeper than just
yeah.
that before and after picture with a caption. Um, Instagram just gives us so many ways to do it now, especially with like the green screen feature and other things. So I think they do work very, very well. I've found in the past, so something to have a go with.
Yeah, 100%. And so the best content, this when I say the content that's going to sort of get your message across to the best and potentially convert someone down the line to being a client is content that has one clear point or piece of value per video. So it's so easy to sort of make a point um when you're making a video and then feel like you have to almost fight the counter arguments to it in the video as well. So you'll say something and then you'll be like, but this only applies to this person, or or it doesn't apply here, or you have to be mindful of this. You're just wasting time and space. No one cares. Like tell the message that's relevant to your niche, your demographic, and just be very clear on it. You don't have to explain every single context or situation where it might be different or it might not apply. Make sure it's got a good hook. Make sure it gets your personality across. Obviously, if you are boring, lean into being boring. If you're quite funny, lean into being quite funny. Like all these kind of things. If you're quite deadpan and down the line, lean into it. You'll have to turn it up a little bit on camera for it to come across as you would want it to come across. And then show people, don't just tell them. So, like we said, use B-roll. The more B-roll you can use, I think, the better, really, with most of your video content to show people you're actually walking the walk, because it's going to help build your authority with people so that they see you as someone who can help them, who they can come to for answers and support and a result. And then just make sure it's original and has a clear call to action at the end. And that call to action could be for a lead magnet, could be for coaching, it could be anything, just to drop you a message or reply to it with whatever word. It doesn't have to be some huge big call to action, but just make sure there is some sort of purpose towards the end of that video that you're pointing someone in the direction of doing something. Um, Anything else you want to add to that, mate?
No, I don't think so. I think that's covered most of it, to be fair.
Cool. So I thought this might be useful just to put a quick picture of the lighting setup. This is just the one I typically use, again, just to get quite a nice contrast. Most of you guys might know this by now, but sometimes it's still questions we get on how do you set up your lighting. So I'll have my camera in front of me. I'll have my main light with the highest brightness at about 45 degrees to me. I'll have another side light at 90 degrees just to get this shadow coming across this sort of light coming across my face here that casts the shadow here. And then I'll have this backlight as well that just, again, it sort of separates me from the background from the screen. This isn't the way you have to have it in every single shot. Obviously, if you're using natural daylight, you don't need as many lights. You just want to think about where that light's coming in and how it's framing you in the actual picture. But for me, I literally, when I do these videos like this, I'm in a box room. I have my blinds down, so I make the room as dark as possible, and then I use this artificial light, so I've got like a stable light source. Because the only problem is with sometimes with natural daylight is if it suddenly gets cloudy, it can dampen the lighting and how you come across on camera. Um, but yeah, that's how I set up my lighting. I think yours might be a bit different. I've noticed in your videos, Jack, sometimes because you use a lot of more or what seems a bit more natural lighting sometimes.
This is just because I'm the type of content creator that just gets so overwhelmed in setting this up. So I think this almost proves the point of like the everything needing to be perfect. Like sometimes you just need to create. So I got this. I've not used it once, which is really, really good, isn't it? And then I've also got this again. This um used the total sum of times once, and that was to take pictures of Hugo. So just proves that probably sometimes you don't need all of that stuff, but to if you're gonna do it, like obviously Jake's just said, that is the right way to do it because it will make the videos look a lot better. I just tend to find so because I know I can be more consistent filming around the house, doing things while I film, and I actually just feel more confident filming as well. So like while I'm literally making some yogurt or making a salad, almost like kind of combining what I'm talking about with then something totally random, so it keeps the viewer engagement. And then when I do sort of content days, we'll do obviously other bits which will be like sat down obviously in my chair or maybe at the gym. So yeah, it's certainly something which in that case for this lighting setup is exactly what you would do. But if you sort of more of someone like me who can't sit down and do as much straight to the camera, yeah, kind of just filming in and around your house, having like a tripod set up and then maybe just like one or two lights if you need them.
Yeah, yeah, literally that. Like it's not the be all and end all having this kind of setup. It's just if you're interested in how to set your lighting up, this is generally how you would want to do it if you've got access. But like I say, if you're around the house, like I said, when you do a lot of B-roll talking around the house, you're not going to have this set up on you. But you do always need to be mindful of where that light's coming in and then where you are in terms of framing it. Never have it just behind you because it's going to make you very dark and the background very bright. But you'll probably notice that. And then in terms of like the actual grid for when you're in your reels, you do want to frame yourself so that your head is in the top third of the screen and that there is some sort of background light is good just again to detach you from the background and give the person watching it perspective and it makes you stand out a bit more. And then again, you want to leave loads of space. Funnily enough, I put space for captions and then yours are above it. But again, it doesn't matter because it's still in the middle of the screen. Like it's just making sure you leave that actual space for caption and like your head's not down here, for example, and you've got all this empty space up there. So just make sure when you're framing yourself in your camera that you're in these dimensions of head towards the top third of the camera and plenty of space around for captions down here or graphics or whatever it is you're wanting to do. Um, but yeah, so final top tips. I think it's final, yeah, which is about good because it's about 11 o'clock. Mute or unfollow other coaches that aren't helping your creativity. I think sometimes when you are just completely showered by seeing loads of other coaches' content, even if you have no interest in it, even like trying to replicate it yourself, sometimes just having it there in the background and consuming it without realizing it does impact how you then talk and how you then put across your message. So sometimes it can be useful just to eliminate a lot of them and just keep a select few who have a positive impact on your own, who you get value from, basically. Have tons of B-roll to use, show people, don't tell them, have a catchy hook, turn your personality up on camera, know what you're going to say, have a clear call to action, and just be yourself. Don't think there's much more to it than that, really, is there?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just going ahead and cracking on with it and testing. That's the thing. You will only know what works well after a month of doing the consistent content. And then when stuff has gone well, repeat it again, try it in a different manner. And yeah, you just sometimes content just be the most frustrating thing in the world. Like I've been doing content now since 2016, 2017, and I've been in it long enough to know how many phases it goes through. Trending audios do really well, reels do really well, carousels do really well. And I think you just have to have your plan that you enjoy when it comes to content creation and not get caught up in trying to just do the most trendiest, latest thing. Because otherwise you just get, I think, so lost in the loop of what is hot right now. And in 2 or 3 months, it goes back to what you were doing before when you should have just stayed with that anyway.
Yeah, yeah, literally that. So just a couple of questions to finish on. You find that as long as the light setup is good, you can still use the front-facing camera. Yeah, you can do. I think they're good enough quality nowadays to be able to use those, to be fair. If you're using your iPhone camera, there's no issues with that. Eric, How do we know if we're attracting the right audience if we aren't getting much conversations going yet? Well, it is tough, mate. Certainly, if you're in your early days, I think you have to go out and actively find your right audience and sort of start those conversations yourself. And naturally, over time, you'll find that as you refine your content messaging more and more, you'll start to get some engagement with the right kind of people, or some response from the right kind of people. But it takes a while. It's not like, you do your niche document, you record a few videos, and straight away your demographic just floods to you and starts coming in all your stuff. It's not going to happen. Like, it will take time to build, but you'll get that message and impression over time as you're seeing the kind of people that are responding to it or engaging with it or just generally talking to you in stories. But as long as the content is specific to your niche and in your voice, I wouldn't worry too much about how much engagement it's getting back or anything like that. Like, that will come over time naturally. It's never going to be amazing. Like, I'm not sitting here saying I get tons of comments and messages off the back of my content that I post, because I don't. But I know that when I do speak to people, when they come onto coaching calls, they all do regularly, when they are a good fit, watch my content. So that's the kind of feedback that you want. If they're watching it for a long time, that's the engagement and the retention that you want, because that's going to make them more likely to sign up.
Yeah. But you
Um,
could definitely look at like you could look at your insights a little bit on Instagram too. Like
yeah,
just to is it actually attracting roughly who is the demographic? It's not going to tell you if they like going to the gym 4 times a week or if they have kids or anything else like that, but it's going to tell you, okay, are they male or female? Are they around about the age group that you would typically work with? And that kind of gives you a bit of an idea. So, like again, in my case, in my situation before, a lot of the stuff that I was doing, it was attracting a lot of female followers. So I would look at my percentages and it would like 80% female and 20% men. Pretty ironic for a men's fat loss coach to be doing that, which was completely the wrong thing. Whereas now, when I look at things, even though the engagement and the accounts reach is a hell of a lot less, the difference between like obviously male around that 35 to 45 range is so much higher than it ever used to be, just because of the right stuff I'm talking about. So it's sometimes that can give you a small insight. It's not going to give you all of the data you need, but that would be one of the things that I would look at if I'm wanting to know if I'm attracting the right audience.
yeah.
You can even ask your audience as well, like put something on your stories, like do a poll of how many male and female followers you get, or how many times they go to the gym, or what their hobbies are. Like get an idea of that and like see who are the people on your stories, who are they who are watching it. Just might give you some kind of idea of things a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess
Literally.
my question, if is that okay if I jump in?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess my question, Jack, was when you were talking about how you were growing these, recipe videos and stuff, and that was bringing the wrong audience. I recently started a new page, and we started to get a little bit of traction with. It's not like recipe videos, but it's like comparison videos, and we're getting traction with that. We're getting people, but I don't want to fall into. I want to keep on doing these type of videos because they bring in followers, but I don't know if they're the right kind of followers.
Mhm.
So I guess my question there is like when did you realize, okay, all these followers are not really helping me out? It was just because you only coach men and there were women, or there was something else?
I think it was just the lack of calls coming in as well for like how much engagement I was getting at the time. And I think just lack of general probably results at the time with the coaching. So like I had this sort of so just for like I guess transparency. So at that point I was sitting at around about 50 clients and that sort of December time in the 2022. Sorry, no, summertime in the 2022. So things were going quite well. But basically, over a 6 month period, we had like kind of just churned through so many clients. I think we got to the point where I'd lost like 20 over a 6 month period. And the leads coming in weren't actually replacing those that were leaving. So there was something massively going wrong with my messaging, the content I was putting out, and just generally actually the people that I was then taking on, they just then weren't staying for long enough because they weren't suited to the message at the time. So kind of then transitioning things over and going back to my roots and actually going back to talking about my journey, the client results we get, and actually more suited to my niche, then kind of built things back up from that point. So because yeah, like that for me was the biggest indicator. Losing clients, not getting enough leads. And if those two things are both happening at the same time, there's probably something wrong with like your messaging and what you're doing, realistically.
Appreciate that.
But I think like obviously if you're doing stuff right now that is bringing followers in, that doesn't mean you need to stop doing that. Just don't forget like kind of the things that actually then gets clients over and through the door, like your messaging around actually the things you believe in, your client results, all of those things. Because I think sometimes you can just then get caught in the trap of continually putting out those same videos, which we know and you probably have seen has brought followers in, but the other stuff you do, the other type of content, that's going to be the thing that actually gets the clients probably through the door, as opposed to like kind of those things which are currently getting new followers through.
Wicked, wicked. Right, I can see there's a couple of questions, guys, but I'm gonna have to shoot because I've got another call in 5 minutes. So Harry and Ben, I'll respond to you guys directly if that's all right, and just send you my thoughts on that. Or Harry, if you want to message me your question because I know you've not put it in yet, and I'll get back to you. And same with you, Ben. And if there are any other questions that you guys are wanting to ask and haven't had a chance, just message them over to either myself or Jack in the Circle app. Or if you've got us on WhatsApp, do that. And we'll get back to you. But apart from that, guys, appreciate you coming on for the call and appreciate Jack coming on and giving the hand with this morning and giving your perspective on everything and your experience on it all. Because when it comes to large followers, I don't have that, you do. So definitely useful. So appreciate it, mate.
Welcome. It was good. It was good to chat and go over things, and hopefully be on another one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll get you back on in another couple of weeks. Like I say, you're doing all the Members Plus stuff with us anyway, so it makes sense, doesn't it?
Sweet.
Wicked. Right, guys. Have a good day, and I'll chat to you all soon.
Cheers, guys. See you in a bit.